Once again, we are live. It's the RCWR Show. Your host right here, the one and only Black Avenger, a.k.a. the Black Azrael, Lee Sanders, as we are talking WWE Cruiserweight Classic Tournament. It is Week 3, Episode 3 for July 27th, 2016. Another solid installment, man. Hey, I definitely want to take this time out and say thanks to the many of you that have taken the time out over the past couple of weeks to check out my thoughts on the CWC tournament. And as always, if you end up checking out the CWC tournament, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the event so far. Seeing a lot of honestly positive feedback that's been coming in with regards to this tournament. I haven't seen not one bad thing said about the tournament, and honestly, I think and I know, I feel in my heart of hearts that WWE, they know they've got a special one right here. Hopefully this isn't a situation where it's spammed every handful of months, that this is something that is so unique. They definitely do it once a year, fingers crossed. But yeah, a lot of you all have just unanimously been like, this is freaking awesome. Awesome it was again tonight. Let's get right into it. Talk about some of these matches that we had got. First off, we had got to see Tyson Ducks take on Zack Sabre Jr. Now, for those of you that may not be familiar with some of these names, as always, I try to do my best to hook you all up, give you as much information without making it sound like a history lesson at the same time. But hopefully, I don't know about you all, I can only speak for me, but seeing a lot of these guys, like faces, names that like maybe I saw at one point some years back, but like I fell out of continuing rigorously, like checking out their work, or guys like I've just never seen before, but like I'm just taken back by their performance, that I want to learn more about them. I hope that that's been the case for a lot of you guys, because a lot of these guys that are in this tournament right now, they are freaking fantastic. Tyson Ducks, birth name Tyson Moody. He is a Canadian wrestler. He's worked for many wrestling promotions. He's pretty much been at it since like the late 1990s on the free agency market, or AKA the independent circuit. He was trained by Scott D'Amore and Terry Taylor. He has wrestled for promotions such as East Coast Wrestling Association, where he participated in the Super 8 tournament. He's also worked for Border City Wrestling, BSC Pro, American Total Nonstop Action Wrestling Promotion, as a member of Team Canada in the 2006 World X Cup. He was also wrestling in Blood, Sweat, and Ears, Living Legends Wrestling, Primetime Wrestling, Northwest Ohio Wrestling. An impressive resume when you just check out all the promotions this young man has been involved in. Meanwhile, Zack Sabre Jr., who resides in England, he is actually currently the Pro Wrestling Guerrilla World Champion. And if a lot of you guys know about your PWG, you know about Joey Ryan and all that, enough said. But PWG, that should definitely be a promotion that a lot of you guys, like, even if you haven't checked out the promotion before, just by name alone, you all should be very familiar with that. It's really been making its name within recent years, becoming more and more popular. He is a former NWA United Kingdom Junior Heavyweight Champion, and is a product of the NWA UK Hammerlock Training School. He began training with the NWA UK Hammerlock, get this, at the age of 14. So talk about starting young. You guys thought that Paige starting off pretty young was something, but here's another one right here for you guys. He's had some infamous matches in his career. Just to give you guys a brief rundown: Martin Stone, Prince Devitt, who you all know better as Finn Balor, El Generico, who you all know best as Sami Zayn, just to name a few. Wrestling Observer have voted him as the best technical wrestler of 2014 and 2015, just to kind of get you guys caught up to speed. I love this match as an opener. It was one of the most fundamental technical matches that I've seen in recent memory, let alone in a WWE ring. You feel where I'm coming from? Even though it's on the WWE network, it was just one of the most well thought out technical matches that I thoroughly enjoyed. Just told a really great story. Mauro Ranallo, Daniel Bryan, oh, fire and ice just working so perfectly together. Great harmony all throughout this whole tournament series. But I was really impressed by both of these men. We actually ended up seeing a submission via armbar be applied, as if I'm not mistaken, ZSJ, Zaber, he actually had picked up the victory and advanced. Let's go to the second matchup. We had Drew Gulak, who defeated Harv Scherer via Dragon Sleeper with leg scissors. Just marinate on that for a few ticks. He won via Dragon Sleeper with leg scissors. It was a hell of a weird combo. I know some of you guys are like, wait a minute, huh? You would have had to see it for yourself to like go, wow, like I didn't know that was kind of like possible. Yeah, it's been so long since I've seen that move. Like I totally forgot that was doable. But these two guys, and I need to point out this week, all the matches that was on this card, everybody won via submission. Now, some people may want to have sour grapes over that. I don't. I don't mind seeing definitive pinfall submission wins, quite honestly. And with regards to a tournament like this, I'm all fine with pinfalls or submissions, quite honestly. But I just thought that was kind of interesting that this week, all the matches that opponents were in that picked up the victories, it was all done via submission. As far as who had the best submission maneuver / victory, I'll actually get to that in just a second. But give you guys a little bit of an update here. Again, we're trying to connect the dots for those of you that might not be familiar with a lot of these names that we're going over here. Drew Gulak rhymes with attack. Gulak. He is right here from the U.S. in PA. He currently works for Beyond Wrestling and Combat Zone Wrestling. That's a promotion you guys should definitely be familiar with. A guy by the name of Dean Ambrose used to work in that promotion. He is a one-time CZW World Heavyweight Champion and a two-time CZW World Tag Champion, one-time CZW Wire TV Champion, and a 2005 Chris Cash Memorial Battle Royal winner. He's done some stuff with Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, Shakira, Dragon Gate USA, Westside Extreme Wrestling, just to name a few. He's definitely been at it for a good minute since if not the late 90s, for sure in the early 2000s. He's been at it as far as a career in pro wrestling. Meanwhile, his opponent is infamously known for a tag team stable with Guri Sharar called the Bollywood Boys. They've been active since 2006. And they've been pretty much in promotions such as the Elite Canadian Championship Wrestling. They also briefly did some stuff with the TNA-sponsored Ring Ka King. For those of you that don't know anything about that promotion, it was actually fairly good. And then they've recently been doing some work for Global Force Wrestling. Of course, Global Force Wrestling has been a little bit ice cold within recent months, but they're still doing their thing on the independent circuit. So that gives you a little bit of a backdrop. I enjoyed this match. I thought this match was really good. I kind of found this match to be a little bit more of a slow-paced match as opposed to the opener. But I felt towards the end, it was definitely a good, strong finish. I was quite pleased with Drew Gulak. I really was taken back by his offense, especially when he was applying his technical moves. The Dragon Sleeper alone, you got to go watch it if you've never seen a Dragon Sleeper with leg scissors. I'm still just kind of baffled just thinking about that combination. I got to go to one of my favorite matches of the night, aside from the main event match. I know a lot of you guys are familiar with the name Tony Nese. You should by now. I've heard a lot about this guy over the years, seen some of his stuff over the years, and I've always been kind of like, damn, why isn't this guy like in the WWE? And like, I finally get my freaking wish as I get to see this guy in the WWE. And I tell you, you look at this guy, and I put a tweet out. It was a simple tweet, and it's been picking up a lot of retweets, actually. I basically said, this guy, he smells like money. You know, he's got a great look. I mean, you got to look at this guy if you are not familiar with him. Great freaking physique, man. Great fight, great looking face. And for a big guy, I mean, he's almost as big as, I want to say he's almost as big as Dave Bautista, but not like from the classic Dave Bautista days after he came through OVW and, you know, he was tearing it up as Deacon Batista with Reverend Devon Dudley. No. I'm thinking a little bit more like, I'd hate to say Dave Bautista when he came back this second go round, because to me, Tony Nese seems like he's a little bit bigger than that version of Batista we had saw. But you just got to go out of your way and see this guy for yourself. He's a big dude, and you know, he can move as a powerhouse. He can also move as a technical wrestler. I was very like, the guy always surprises me. Let me tell you, just when I think I've seen it all with him, I tell you, every time I've watched any of his matches, and it's rare I get to check out a lot of his stuff, but when I do get to check out his matches, he always surprises me, man. Always surprises me. But he has gone through other ring names such as Matt Coltron, Matt Maverick, and Tony Ace. He had a brief stint in TNA from 2011 to 2012. He's pretty much been on the independent circuit or the free agency market since the early mid 2000s. Some of the people that he's faced, Amazing Red. He's also faced Jesse Sorsen. Who else did he face? Austin Aries, who's in NXT right now. Kid Cash, one of my personal favorites. I miss Kid Cash. Zima Ion. He's also been doing some work for the Pro Wrestling Syndicate promotion. Also, the PWS Tri-State, he became a champion, Pro Wrestling Syndicate Tri-State champion. He's also worked for Evolve, Dragon Gate. So that gives you a little bit of a nice little backdrop on him. Honestly, and I remembered as soon as I had went off the air last week about my favorite top three that I would like to see win the whole thing. And I was like, how could I have forgotten about Kota Ibushi? But to recap for you guys, because I promised you guys I was going to remember going here on now. Yeah, my top three, originally I said Kota Ibushi. I still feel that way. Brian Kendrick, I still feel that way. TJ Perkins was, if I'm not mistaken, another one that I said could possibly go all the way. But Tony Nese, I don't know, man. I kind of got to give a nice honorable mention to Tony Nese. I think win or lose, I don't think we've seen the last of this young man. 30 years of age, a lot of great work that can be put into him from the WWE. I would hope that WWE makes some type of offer to this young man. He had a fantastic match, great offense. Oh, hey, look, we were talking so much about Tony Nese. There was an opponent he faced, right? Young man, I tried to look up as much info on this young man as humanly possible, and I really could not find that much on him, sadly. Now, to my credit, you know, not to take anything away, but maybe he's done interviews, and if so, like, I wasn't able to come across any. Now, I did just type in his name. The opponent that Tony Nese faced was a young man by the name of Anthony Bennett. When you type him up in a Google search, really not that many information pops up. So I don't know what happens if maybe you kind of change the wording around and maybe say interview. I don't know if, but like just when I did that in a Google search, normally you type in something like that and you apply wrestler at the end of it. You see their interviews, all that jazz, but nothing popped up. So the little bit that I was able to gather about this young man, apparently he has worked. Oh God, I just had it. Hang on, guys. Yeah, apparently he did some work for the Monster Factory promotion, Monster Wrestling Factory promotion. Might have those letters mixed up, but I know it's Monster Factory is the promotion. Apparently, highly influenced by Kid and Play. I'm kind of going, not to put my age out there because I don't want to like. Well, I already kind of feel like an old man, but I'm kind of going. Wait a minute. I remember Kid and Play movies, House Party and all that very well. Like I'm looking at this young man, I'm going, how does he know about House Party? How does he know about Kid and Play? Like, did he just like get hooked up with some music, a couple of months back or something? But he's got a nice throwback feel. I will definitely give him that credit. He's got the nice big high top fade that was so popular in the 80s, and the way he comes out. Uh, I see a very nice potential gimmick. Like if he was in the WWE on the long term, I can see WWE doing some stuff with that. I can see him being a very energetic, fun, colorful type of character. Who knows, that may just end up crossing paths a lot with the hype bros. You know, not everybody has to go to that cruiserweight division on the Raw brand whenever they get ready to launch it. You feel where I'm coming from? They could kind of break it up a little bit and send some people exclusive for the cruiserweight, and maybe SmackDown can pick up some of the other guys that can try to help really make a stronger mid card tag division level, if you will. But I don't know. Like when I saw him come out tonight, I'm just kind of going, wow, he kind of fits into that whole Mojo Riley, Zack Ryder, Hype Bros type of element. I could even see him under the right circumstances, maybe being paired up with Enzo Amore and Big Cass, not on a permanent basis, but just like a couple of tag teams here and there or whatever. But this was really about Tony Nese, man. Tony Nese just had a very dominating, very well, strong performance. I mean, it was so funny too because my girl had walked in as I was watching this match, and I just decided to pick her brain a little bit. And she's just a casual watcher. Like she really doesn't watch wrestling like that with her schedule. But I said to her, I said, "Hun, which one of these guys in the ring looks and smells like money, in your honest opinion?" And I was just curious what she was going to say. And she was like, "Well, the black dude kind of has like a house party thing going on. Is he trying to be Kid and Play?" I said, you nailed it." And she goes, "I like the big white dude. Like he looks like he's like, good God, he looked like he killed somebody." I'm like, yeah. And I thought the compliment she gave him was really awesome, which was he looks like AJ Styles meets, who's another guy that she said? I think she said AJ Styles meets Damian Sandow. And I'm kind of going, I kind of look wise. I'm not saying in ring ability, but just look wise. I'm like, okay, I kind of see that a little bit. I would also add in there the Drifter. So, I know nobody wants to think about the Drifter right now. That's a different topic for another time. But a hell of a finish by Tony Nese. He won via a 450 splash off of the top turnbuckle. Now, those of you that have not seen this week's CWC yet and you're not familiar with Tony Nese, I will guarantee you that when you end up checking this out on demand, watch that and then come back and leave a comment and tell me, like, overall his performance, was it not impressive? Was that 450 splash not impressive? I mean, for a big man to be able to do that, I'm like, God damn, that's all I gotta say. And we got one more match to talk about, ending the night for the first time in almost 8 years, maybe a little bit more than that. we had saw the return of the Brian Kendrick, one of my personal all-time favorites that like, God, I am such a huge Brian Kendrick fan. Let me tell you, he's had a couple of stints in the WWE. It all pretty much goes back to uh, right at the turn of the new millennium. He did a little something 2000 to 2001. Then he was back on the independent circuit. A couple of years later, he came back to the WWE like 2002 to 2004. Went back to the independent circuits again, worked with promotions such as Ring of Honor, TNA Wrestling multiple times, came on back to the WWE in 2005. And it was really, in my honest opinion, and I think for a lot of the hardcore Brian Kendrick fans as well, the 2005 to 2008 period is what really had saw Brian Kendrick soar to his great tag team with Paul London. They just made such a great freaking tag team, man. I really, really enjoyed those guys. Like, everybody always does the whole Young Bucks. Everybody talks about the Young Bucks, but when I look at the Young Bucks, and this is no disrespect to them, but when I look at the Young Bucks, I basically see a lot of Paul London and Brian Kendrick, but they are different on so many levels. And I think it's a case where, depending on who you talk to, you may have some say, nah, man, Paul London, Brian Kendrick, hands down. And you're going to have those that are going to be very passionate and vocal about the Young Bucks. But that's what I see when I look at those guys. But Brian Kendrick, multi-time WWE Tag Team Champion with Paul London. And then, of course, there was the Brian Kendrick experience, if you want to call it that, where he was a solo act. And I still remember to this very day, because I just remember being so infatuated. I was in love, because Brian Kendrick, to me, just really kind of came off like, I think Mauro Ranallo and Daniel Bryan said it best. I think it was Mauro Ranallo who was commentating on this match tonight. He basically had said that Brian Kendrick, much earlier in his years, kind of looked like a young Leonardo DiCaprio. He still kind of looks like a young Leonardo DiCaprio, but he also has a Kurt Cobain vibe to him as well, which is just, and I think that's one of the other reasons why, like, I've always been able to gravitate and go, man, he's bad. He wrestles pretty freaking awesome, man. I mean, that's the other thing. Aside from having a great look, I mean, hands down, he's always been a phenomenal wrestler. I always personally felt one of the most underrated wrestlers that, honestly, when you think about his tenure in the WWE, and he's been a big man about it over the years. At his very best, when he was at his pinnacle, he was his own enemy, because he knew he was so good, and the way that radiated to his peers and other colleagues, it just made him come off brash. It made him come off arrogant. And you'll have many wrestlers that will do these shoot interviews. They'll do these podcast interviews, and they'll tell you that when you're in the WWE, you always have to be very respectful. You got to be mindful and come off like you appreciate the opportunities that's being presented in front of you. Don't come off like you're a loner. Go out of your way to shake everybody's hand, exchange pleasantries, because to not do any of those things, you're just not going to last that long. People are going to get the wrong impression about you. And Brian Kendrick, at the time, he knew he was the you-know-what, and that just rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And it came at a really bad time, because he had the whole Brian Kendrick gimmick going on, and he was paired up with a bodyguard in Ezekiel Jackson. And I remember when I first saw that pairing, I was like, oh, yeah, this is definitely going to be going places. It really seemed as though Brian Kendrick was like getting ready to shoot all the way up to possibly becoming a world heavyweight champion. Now, for some of you guys that wasn't watching the WWE at that point, you guys may be like, No, get out of here. Really? That guy that might have been looking at Brian Kendrick for the first time going, really? Yeah, really. Longtime Brian Kendrick fans that was watching WWE back then will tell you, because when he was exclusive on the SmackDown brand, yeah, it really looked as though he was getting ready to pose a serious threat to the World Heavyweight title back when they were still doing the brand split initially, and there were still two major WWE titles that were in play. Of course, there was the whole revitalization of ECW, which he had a little bit of activities over there. Eventually, he got broken up from Ezekiel Jackson, as the powers that be felt that maybe now was the time to pull the trigger on Ezekiel Jackson. Fun fact: Ezekiel Jackson was like the last ECW champion. Not sure how many of you guys are aware of that. But he was released. I'm talking about Brian Kendrick still. He was released by the WWE in 2009. And he's pretty much been on the independents after that. Now, within recent years, he has been back with the WWE, and he's been a trainer down in Florida. Large part of his training he had to do and bestowed upon with working with Eva Marie. Different topic for another time. His opponent that he had faced tonight, we gotta make sure we give him as much equal time as we gave to Brian Kendrick there. And this name was a tongue twister here, so forgive me if I gotta look this up again. Well, his real name is Raul Mata. And he actually, wow, no, we got the wrong name. I am so sorry about that, guys. We got the wrong name. No, this guy is Raul Mendoza. That's his name. There was another Raul Mendoza, but that wrestler, they like dubbed him as 69 years of age, and that's definitely not the Raul Mendoza we're talking about. But this guy, he's pretty much traveled all over the world, heavily influenced by Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio. Reason why he doesn't wear a luchador mask is he just doesn't fit with him that well, and not to mention he feels he has a good looking face. So he has mainly been wrestling in Mexico. He began competing in his home country back in 2005. He was training under luchadors like El Gran Apache and Ricky Marvin. And he's competed in promotions such as AAA, Preos del Mal, and Japan's Pro Wrestling Noah, just to get you guys caught up to speed. Fantastic main event match to wrap up this edition of the Cruiserweight. We had saw Brian Kendrick win via submission, who honestly I think had the most impressive submission. I believe they called it a bullhorn submission. Please don't ask me to try to describe that. You have to just look at it yourself and go, damn, that looks pretty ugly. It looked devastating, let me tell you. But solid installment that we got this week. Looking forward to next week's show as always. It's hard to believe that 3 episodes are like already in the books, and like now we only have like about 7 more weeks to go before this pretty much wraps up. But I am enjoying the ride so far. Hopefully you guys, if you haven't already, you've gotten to start, you're checking it out. And if you are, I definitely would love to hear from you guys. So do post your comments down below. And remember, you can also follow me on Twitter at the RCWR Show. Also on Facebook at the same name. We recently modified the Facebook page name, so you guys can find us a lot easier. It's also the RCWR Show. So interact, love to stay connected with you guys. And of course, for those of you checking this out for the very first time, you're new to the YouTube channel, welcome. Love to have you subscribe so you never miss out, as we do pretty solid content for you guys on a week-to-week basis. We also do a really fun, exciting podcast where we talk a little bit about everything every Tuesday night, 10 p.m. Eastern on Spreaker.com. All the links you need is in the episode description below, so check it out. Of course, if you can't check out the show live, you can scoop up episodes on great platforms, iTunes, Stitcher, all the links, episode description. Meanwhile, that's going to do it until next go around. I am wishing all of you all to be safe, most importantly, be kind to one another. I'll see you right here next Wednesday night, 10 p.m. Eastern live, where we will continue talking about WWE CWC Fallout. Tongue twister. Try saying that 10 times fast. 10 times fast. All right, folks. Good night. Good morning. Take care.